Okay.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to the Seriously Social podcast, where we bring you behind the scenes of some of the world's largest companies and explore their social media strategy. My name is Keith and I'm the CEO of Socially In, a social media agency that works with medium-sized and large brands, and we help them with social strategy, original content production, ad management, and more. Today we have a very special guest, Laura DePeters. Laura, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Keith.
Laura is the Director of Digital Brand Engagement at the American Cancer Society. And for those of you who don't know, the American Cancer Society is a nationwide voluntary health organization dedicated to eliminating cancer. They were established in 1913, and the society is organized into 6 geographical regions of both medical and lay volunteers, operating in more than 250 regional offices throughout the United States. Am I missing anything that you can add about the American Cancer Society?
No, that's about right. We are our global headquarters is based in Atlanta, which is where I am, and it's definitely been through a lot of changes over the past few months with everything going on with COVID.
I can imagine, and I want to talk about that. So I want to start off by asking you about yourself. Can you give us a background of, where you worked in the past and ultimately how you got into the position you're at right now?
Sure. So I actually graduated from college with a degree in public relations. And when I graduated, the recession of 2008 happened. And I ended up taking an internship at kind of one of like the first digital first agencies. So they were PR, and they were transitioning from doing like literally, paper press kits, and I would scan copies of press releases and, like make it in an email format for our clients. But they were also sort of spearheading this more digital social. So we would do like press briefings on Twitter and sort of do more online. And I actually got the internship by tweeting
Nice.
the person who owned the agency. And so that was up in Boston, and I had a lot of family there and just was looking for a change. But that was like one of the first years Twitter had just kind of come onto the scene. And luckily, I had a professor in college who was really into Twitter. And I remember he would say things like, this Facebook you guys are all using, I promise it's going to be the future. And we all were like, how could Facebook have anything to do with work? Because at that point, I think we had like a profile picture and that was it. So yeah, so I really just sort of took an interest early on from the digital sphere of things, and would take on like little pet projects as social media was really sort of starting to evolve into brand things. And I would just do them on the side as I worked in PR and marketing. And because of the recession, a lot of things started merging, right? Like there weren't as many traditional roles as there used to be. And so I think by maybe like 2012, I took on a role with a B2B company that was like purely digital, and just kind of grew from there and stopped being all digital and really just focused on social. And I went to the first nonprofit I worked at was Habitat for Humanity. And I managed all of their social, and that was really the first full social role I did, and wasn't doing email and website and all of that. And then I worked at a global advertising agency and did both like organic and paid, and really sort of that helped me get much more of an understanding of the paid side of things as well. As we know, as everything has shifted with social media, it's much more of this pay to play space. And I do think that you're seeing a lot of differentiation now, where or there's less differentiation of, people don't necessarily only operate in organic and paid anymore, you're kind of more of like a hybrid between the two. So
Awesome.
yeah, so I worked at an agency for almost 5 years and had 2 kids when I was working there, and just decided that I really needed kind of a different pace. And went to the American Cancer Society, which I'm actually busier, I think, than I've ever been in my life. So it's funny how things end up
That's funny.
working.
How long
Yeah.
have you been with the American Cancer Society?
Since last December, so about 9 months.
Okay. So you've really been working in social media over a decade at this point because you started
Yeah.
in 2008. That's awesome. So
Yep.
there's a lot that we can learn from you. So I want to ask, I'm interested in hearing about the paid advertising a little bit down the road. So I'll ask about that and what your strategy there is around that. But I'm interested in hearing what your day-to-day looks like. You mentioned you're the busiest you've ever been in your life. What are you doing on a daily basis?
Sure. So when I joined the American Cancer Society, I was actually in a different role that was a little less social focused. And, I was like, I've been working in social media for 12 years. I need a break. And it was a little more kind of consultative and looking at digital holistically. Well, everything with COVID happened. And unfortunately, the American Cancer Society downsized a lot. And which ended up where I joined the social team because they knew that I had a background there. So it's funny, I only left it for about 2 months total. So now I'm the director of digital brand engagement, and this is really just like thinking, not just social. We're very social first, but it's overwhelming and exciting to be at ACS right now because we're really transforming into digital only. The majority of our revenue, I think like 70% of our revenue comes from in-person events, which are not happening right now. So there's a really big migration to everything digital. So the things that I work on mostly are our digital brand strategy. So, like what we're currently redefining, what is our footprint in digital. And so I work with, we have sort of a suite of brands. So we have what we call our master brand, which is if you look, at cancer.org or anything with American Cancer Society on social. And then we also have more product type brands. So Relay for Life, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. That's our biggest event. Making Strides Against Breast Cancer is a big event. And so our team manages every,
Gotcha.
social digital profile within the organization.
Gotcha. Off the top of your Ed, do you know how many profiles that is? How many you guys are managing?
Huh. So, it's like, if you think of it like a franchise, it's the problem that every franchise in the world has. So nationally, maybe like 7 or 8. And then, each one has Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. But then globally, like you mentioned at the top of the call, we're divided into 6 geographic regions, all of which who have, hundreds of buckets underneath them. So, like one region could have 100 Relay for Life, going on, that they all have their own Twitter or Facebook and Facebook groups. So, I mean, across the globe, it's thousands and thousands, but, we're really primarily focused on the national channels and then just providing support for regions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And do each of those profiles or brands, so to say, have their own social media team?
No, I mean, so since we're a nonprofit, it could be a volunteer. It could be someone who is like an event manager in their region, and they're also just so happening to manage our, their Facebook or their Twitter. So that's where it gets, a little difficult to manage from a national level. But we're fortunate enough to have marketing and communications professionals in each region. So, there is someone who social media may not be their expertise, but they're marketing communications professionals. So
Gotcha. Okay. So what about ACS then? Does that have a dedicated team of
yep.
managing? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm interested in how you guys manage that, because I can imagine that the community there is massive and you guys get a lot of influx of people commenting. Is that all managed in-house, or do you guys have an external support system?
So the way we have it divided up is, so you kind of have like the overall strategy, which is more of what I work on. And then we have we have two dedicated people that, depending on, like which brand it is, that manage our content, but we also have an internal creative team. And then we have agencies that help us as well. And then we have we have two people who are dedicated to the community management and scheduling, posting, data, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So I want to switch our conversation a little bit here and talk about paid advertising. Do you mind sharing a little bit around what the objectives are when you guys are running ads? Because I'm just interested in understanding what the objectives are.
Yeah. So, I mean, before March, our objective was really brand awareness. And, like it's pay to play, right? Even at Facebook, we have over 1 million followers, but we're not reaching nearly 1 million followers. So you would have things that were maybe promoted or boosted. And then our paid media that we work with another agency on, a media agency, was really focused on awareness and reaching the right demographic and getting our message in front of them. And, everything else was sort of secondary. So we might have had like, donation ads running and that sort of thing, but it wasn't necessarily the primary. Well, when COVID hit and our donations went so down, the entire organization became hyper-focused on revenue only. So now everything we have switched over to pretty much donation asks. So if you see an ad for American Cancer Society, like you might get an ad if your birthday is in September, you may get an ad saying, hey, did you know that you could donate your birthday to creating a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society? You might get an ad if, we feel like you have an interest in cancer, if you've ever given to ACS before, if you've ever been to our website, if we have your email address. So there's lots of, different ways, but right now we are very focused on anything that can convert into a donation.
Interesting. So would you say kind of the measurement of success is how many donations are happening through social?
Yep. So for paid media on social, I actually just worked on this last week, so it's very timely. Our primary KPIs, the first one is conversion rate. So if the ad is trying to convert to a donation, if it's trying to convert to the website, whatever it's trying to do, that's what we're trying to keep as high as possible as our conversion rate, because we don't want to spend money on people who are never going to convert. Yeah. And then second would be what's called ROAS, which is return on ad spend. And we are always trying to stay at least like a 2, ideally 3 to 1 ROAS, meaning we're always very net positive. So for every $5 we spend, we want to be making 10.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And do you mind sharing what the budget allocation looks like? So is the majority of the spend going to Facebook, or are you guys operating on other platforms like Twitter, Pinterest?
So yeah, social media, I don't even know what the breakdown is right now off the top of my head. I would say 90% is Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, and we generally bundle those two together, so we're buying off of Facebook and Instagram together.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So switching topics here, I want to talk about TikTok. Have you guys thought about TikTok at all from an organic standpoint or from an ad standpoint? And what are your thoughts? That's question number one. And what are your thoughts about the potential ban? Do you think it's actually going to happen?
So, yeah, let's talk about TikTok. Actually, a few months ago, it was around July, we launched our TikTok channel, and literally the next week is when everything started with like it was coming out about data and security. So we took a little bit of a step back, but yeah, we did launch our organic TikTok channel. And we've been sort of slow rolling it just with everything going on. It's not necessarily a great way for us to spend our time and energy right now because who knows what's going to happen for it. But our TikTok strategy that we launched with, since we do have an entire nation of volunteers and people who are passionate about American Cancer Society, it was like 40% owned content, so content you would see on the American Cancer Society channel, and 60% earned, meaning we're sending out emails, we're sending out requests for people to make their own TikToks and tag us.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so the reason we originally launched in July is because we were going to get access to the donate sticker on TikTok. So when you post a TikTok, you could have an option to select a nonprofit that you would like to support. And TikTok does themes often. So like June, it was all LGBTQ, pride related nonprofits. They've had ones that you can directly support COVID relief.
Gotcha.
And just because of everything they've had going on, they've put a freeze on dev right now, essentially. So we haven't had that yet. But once we do, which is hopefully pretty soon, you'll start seeing a lot of cancer-related content. So it's been exciting for us. We've been able to partner really closely with TikTok. And, they try to keep us up to date as much as they can with everything that they have going on. But they do seem pretty passionate about nonprofits and charitable causes on their platform. So even if it's not something that we're creating on our own, we're looking to we have a really strong campus presence. So we're looking to our volunteers, to our staff, to people in the community who may want to create a cool video and do some fundraising for us.
Gotcha. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and do I think it's going to be banned? I hope not. I really have come to love TikTok. I call it my TikTok hour. I lay in bed at night after I put my kids to bed, and I just like love watching the videos. So I don't think so. I think now there's some companies like Microsoft is, talking about acquiring them. But it'll be interesting. I mean, Instagram just came out with Reels, which is a direct
that's what I was going to ask about next.
competitor. Yeah. I've played around a little bit with it. I don't think it's there yet. I think TikTok is a little bit easier to use right now. And what's so innately cool about TikTok is that it's like kind of the old school Snapchat discovery section where you don't have to follow someone, right? Like sometimes I don't like consuming content from my friends. I just want to see cool stuff that makes me smile or makes me laugh, or sometimes makes me cry. And I think that's what's so awesome about TikTok that Instagram's going to be up against, because so much of your Instagram feed is, people you've opted into following. So, but it's Facebook, right? They have the power behind Facebook. So professionally, I see us going much more all in on Reels because we have a following on Instagram. Like it just makes sense. Right now, things aren't monetized, but I'm sure they're going to be monetized soon where we can buy media placements. So at this point, it would kind of be a crossover, right? Like something we post on Instagram or TikTok, we might just replicate and see what's netting the most positive for us.
Interesting. Okay. I want to end our conversation with a personal question. What social media are you on the most? I know you said you have your TikTok hour at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
I mean, I'm an Instagram person, so I'm on Instagram the most often. It's where, like I'm more likely to share my content on Instagram, but I also love, I follow a lot of influencers. I follow brands, my friends, my family. I would say Instagram stories is my favorite. Like that's my go-to. If I'm aimlessly scrolling something, it's Instagram. Definitely have gotten into TikTok.
Yeah.
Not really as much creating content. I feel a little bit aged out of TikTok as far as being a content creator, but I love the platform. And Facebook, I'm less into these days.
Same way, actually. I'm
Yeah,
the same guy. I am a big LinkedIn guy. That's how actually we connected and we were able
yeah,
to, talk. Interesting though. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners got a lot of value out of this conversation, so I appreciate it.
yeah, Keith. I hope so. Thanks so much for having me on.